Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible in all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your frightful, agitated hosts. Joining me, as always, is our other frightful and agitated host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
Always agitated,
Ah,
agité, as they say in French.
agité.
Agité.
Yeah, it never ends.
It doesn't. Uh, it's this is an interesting topic. Well, I'm like, I have a lot of feelings about our topic today.
Okay. Okay, good. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I
um,
like it's which is contrasting to me because as we all know I'm fearless and
mhm.
nothing scares me because I'm a
Nope.
big strong man.
It's right. That's right. So, I think I need to stop reading the news.
Oh God, please do. Yeah, for your own sake,
Oh
please.
my God. I like it. I like I thought that I had myself and my shit together, like
Uh-huh.
going into this period of like policy and political whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's like I'm totally playing into the whole like read the news and then feel fear.
Yeah.
So, um, I deleted my personal Facebook and Instagrams.
Good.
Like, I don't know, maybe for good, we'll see. Because I just like I can't read what my circle of people like think on
I
both sides. It's just so much. And
yes.
like you're really good at like knowing when to like turn it off and shut it down and not look at it.
Mm.
But I'm not, and I'm on the Drudge Report, which like
Ooh.
I know it's like the worst of the worst, but
Yeah.
it's like a fast way to see like a snapshot of
Yeah.
everything. Um, and I can't stop. I
Yeah.
need an
Okay.
intervention, I think.
So that's where you're
So
going cold turkey, and that's the smartest way I think is just to eliminate the accounts in that case. But
yeah. And like I still have the bendy ones and
yes.
like that's I kind of like I'm just trying to like get in and get out
Yeah.
and then, respond to people's comments and questions, but like get in and get out because yeah, it's just shit's weird right now, man.
It is. That's weird is the way to put it. Like it's a weirder word we're living in. I'm sure I have mentioned this on the podcast before, but it's not like, the Chinese blessing is may you not live in interesting times, and the old Chinese like curse is may you live in interesting times. And we certainly live in interesting times.
And I just wonder, is this how like because we had some idea of Brexit and the impact of
Yeah.
Brexit, and I'm wondering if like this is how you felt when all of that was going down.
Like, it's so interesting to me because like I think I'm slightly more politically informed than I was back then. And I know for a long time, I'd say probably into my mid 30s, I was just like, politics is all bullshit and I have nothing to do with it. But I feel like nobody can really afford to be that ignorant, honestly. And I kind of did better. And like I remember going into like Brexit and like seeing the like really empty promises, like, oh, there's going to be 350 million going into the NHS every week that, we're sending Europe and going, that sounds quite good. And a few other things. But then I really kind of, I'd say only a few weeks beforehand, I started looking into it properly and seeing what the arguments were and what was happening. And it all seemed, the pro-Brexit argument always seemed so iffy to me and so empty of substance. So and I think it's absolutely panned out that way as well. It's a difficult one because I think that there are some legitimate arguments for why we probably would have been better outside of Europe, but I don't
Mhm.
think any of them were used whenever promoting what actually happened. So we just kind of got the worst case scenario with, when we've spent billions, I think, on it possibly, and have seen basically no material benefits. It's wild. And still some people are kind of like Brexit, nuts. So yeah. Anyway, sorry for anybody who loves Brexit who listens to this podcast. Somebody that was
It
political
it's fun to
stance.
say.
It is fun to say. I think that is one of the big things, and it's like not. how like, tiny the things can be that really kind of sway people, you know. Oh, Brexit, that sounds nice.
Uh-huh.
Wild.
Sounds like
Anyway,
a cereal.
it
What could
is.
be bad about that?
Yeah. Okay, so there's something I want to talk about at the weekend that I think was even like more momentous and bigger, certainly in my life. Politically, I guess the Royal Rumble happened. Do you know what
What is that?
The Royal Rumble
No,
is? Okay, so
no.
it is an event. It's a wrestling event. It's a
Okay.
WWF event. So basically,
Oh,
30 people go in every minute. A new person goes in to the ring, and there are 30. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It rules.
how have
And
I not known about this?
I know it's like I think. I mean, I don't watch as much wrestling as I used to, but for my money, the most fun event of the year because
Will you actually like pay for pay-per-view?
so now it's on Netflix.
Oh, that's right. They signed a contract.
Nuts.
That's I have seen the commercials and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Mm,
So that is the main reason. My friend who I hadn't seen properly um came down. I hadn't seen him since before Christmas. I sent Beth the Christmas present he
it's
a
really
pic. It's
great.
pretty
It's really
incredible.
great.
We have to. Beth has the photo. Beth put it on her social
Yep.
so everybody can see.
Yep.
Anyway, it was a photo of me in a frame that said "Best dog ever," and the
Yeah.
photo's fantastic.
Yep. I was literally like, there could not be a more like apropos present
Yeah, it
for
rules.
you. It
Oh,
does.
I
You
love it
are the
because
world's best dog.
thank you. I appreciate that. I feel that in my heart.
I
Um,
know you do.
because he was even like, you can take that picture out and put a picture of Sasha in there, and I'm like, nah, I'm
Nah.
keeping it. I'm keeping that as is. Anyway, so yeah, I hadn't seen him since, before Christmas, so it was a nice way to.
Is he a good gift giver?
He is.
Yeah.
He's a helpful gift giver, and he's a funny dude. So like, I knew he was gonna get a good one. Um, so he came down. We ended up watching it live. He like made us a bingo card as we were playing. It was so much fun. Um, and the thing about the Rumble, why it's particularly fun, is that you really have no idea what's going to happen. They don't give you a list of who is going to be in the Rumble or when they're going to be in. So like every new entrant's a surprise, and they do a bit of there's some stunt casting. So but like, and it used to be back in the day. So the infamous ones were like Drew Carey was in it one year. I know,
Oh my God.
right? Yeah, Johnny Knoxville's been in it. Things like
Okay.
that,
Well, that I could see.
right?
Anyone from Jackass.
But like in recent years, it has been more like YouTubers. So a guy called Speed came in, who I'd never heard of before. Yeah, I don't know. He's apparently like very, very big on YouTube, but I don't know. And then, so basically, we had a draw and we drew our numbers. So we didn't know, we knew what our numbers were, but we didn't know what the person was going to be. Got to 29. Fucking Logan Paul still hadn't come out. And I was like, I have 30. I have Logan
Yeah.
fucking Paul.
Yeah.
So our points-based system, basically at the end, my two friends had a score both in the 40s. I had a score in, I think my score was like 9, I believe, but 7 of those points were Logan Paul's, and were from Logan Paul. I refused to take those, so I had 2 points at the
I
end.
heard a rumor that the Paul brothers are gonna fight Conor McGregor.
Uh, The two of them versus Conor McGregor.
Yeah, like
Wow,
I don't know if it's at the same time or what, but probably not because that's against rules. Not that the rules
that's
matter to any of
no,
these
nothing.
people.
No, no. What matters is money. That's
You
fascinating.
got
Okay.
Logan Paul.
Got it. But anyway, really fun event, really fun night.
That's
The other
awesome.
the other thing that I did since I saw you all last was we had our choir social event,
Fun.
which was a really big success. It's not so
What
much,
what'd you do?
we had dinner and then we had karaoke.
Yeah.
Um, so much fun. And like by the end of the night, people were singing, the dance floor was filled with people doing dancing, like, doing Tina Turner dancing, putting the arms in, coming back, putting the arms in, coming back. And like because I didn't realize what they were doing at first. I was like, oh, this looks like a lot of fun. So I joined in, and it was great. Um, like obviously it was tough to get the mic off me. I did probably too many songs. But it was so much fun. It was such a good night, and it really went off better than I could have hoped. So really brilliant. Um, so yeah, so that's been the crack with me over the
That's
past week,
lovely.
right?
Lovely.
Um,
Yeah, sounds nicer than
watching politics.
Basically. What is my problem?
It's compelling in a terrible way, you
I
know.
know.
Okay, so do you have any what's occurring?
I do.
Okay,
This is, I'm excited to see your reaction. Okay,
okay.
so I throw up, so for those of you who don't know, I throw up like little shorts that Andy edits
Yep,
um that are funny, and somebody commented on the one where you're talking about DMing,
yep.
and then like, oh wait, what's DMing? Or like, do you mean
Yeah, yeah.
you meant
Dom,
Dungeon Master
I
and
meant Dungeon
not
Mastering, not Dom, sub-Dom stuff. Yeah.
right, right, right. Or like, yeah. So they said, I think of myself as a bit of a nerd, but obviously not as much as that massive nerd, because I assumed he was saying he'd started direct messaging the people he was playing Dungeons and Dragons with rather than started running a game as its dungeon master. Unclear use of phrase DMing suggests, gasp, Andy is not down with the streets.
Whoa, whoa, brutal.
What
Wow,
say you, Andy
how
Young?
dare you? I listen. I am old school, okay, and I'm stuck in my ways, and I call it DMing because that's how I've always called it DMing. That's how I've
You,
always called
my
it.
DMing has been around longer than
My father called it DMing. My grandfather called it DMing. And we're not going to change anytime soon, okay? So you can take your newfangled ideas and you can get the hell out of here. So that's my opinion.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay,
So you
perfect.
are not down with the streets?
Um, I mean, like,
Or you're so down with the streets that it goes back generations?
exactly.
Uh-huh.
It
I
goes
see.
it goes right
It
through
goes
the other
both ways.
side. I'm comes
Oh,
back around till I'm
right?
like
You're
completely down with the streets once again.
so you're folding space and time.
100%. Yeah,
I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
I see.
I'm quantum physicsing this
Okay.
stuff. Okay, perfect. All right, I'm
Okay.
glad we've cleared that all
Yeah, there you go.
up. Okay. So I have SpaghettiOs for this
Okay.
week.
Okay.
So it's not so much um a mistake that was made last week that needs to be corrected. It was kind of an omission. It was so like, and this is kind of, I guess, an act, some sort of like a piece of contrition on my part. So I was like editing the podcast last week and I noticed that, the episode number, and at no point in last week's
Oh,
episode
I
did
noticed
I
this.
go
This is episode
69,
69.
dude, or
Yeah.
69, nice. And then force Beth to give me a virtual high five. I have let down men everywhere. I've let
Uh-huh.
down the contract that I signed as a man to celebrate the 69 every time I hear it. And all I can do is come to y'all at home, cap in
And
hand,
apologize.
and say I'm sorry. And I have to do better, and I will. I promise you.
So I guess like does 169 count? It
I'll have
does.
to. I mean, we
So
have
you're
to.
gonna have to go
Yeah,
like twice as hard.
really hard on it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
obnoxiously so.
I was uh I was the assistant director for the Music Man in high school.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like up in the whatever you call it, the booth, like calling cues. And so like every light cue has a number,
Hmm.
Q1, Q2, and like we had Q69. And it was like I was like, we celebrate because everybody else is on headsets, and I'm like, 69. Everyone's like, yeah, 69,
Fucking
dude. And like
finger
Beavis and
guns.
Butt-heading it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
So
such
I will
children.
say, like, I was aware.
Okay, good. I mean, like,
Uh
but like, again, just, and I, hate, the sort of masculine, feminine thing, but as a guy,
mhm.
it really is my duty to do it,
It is. No, I was a little like, he didn't say anything.
So
And I'm not
really,
gonna say anything.
I've let myself down, honestly, here. So I just have
And
to do better.
me.
Yeah, and
And
you, I
me.
know. And that's why I'm apologizing. That's why I'm saying it's like a really solemn SpaghettiOs, right?
Yeah.
It's really kind of
This is
deep from my
probably the
heart.
biggest one you'll ever
Oh,
have.
unbelievable. Like it'll probably be the end of my reputation, I would
Uh-huh.
say, So I just have to deal with that and move on from it, what has happened has happened. But I've apologized and hopefully everyone out there can forgive me.
Yeah. Let us know, people, if you forgive Andy or not.
They will. Oh, they will. Okay, I love it. Shall we move on to our topic this week?
Yes.
Okay, so our topic this week, folks, nearly got there, is facing your fears. And exactly that, just a conversation about the things that, we find fearful and like, how we go about confronting them and how that's affected different things in our life.
I'm going to give you the definition of fear because I was like, what
Ooh,
is fear,
okay.
right? You know me. So, fear is one of the seven universal emotions experienced by everyone around the world. Fear arises with the threat of harm, either physical or emotional or psychological, real or imagined. Haha, imagine's my favorite.
Hmm.
While traditionally considered a negative emotion, fear actually serves an important role in keeping us safe as it mobilizes us to cope with potential danger.
Interesting. Yeah, because like they talk about a lot of our kind of fear-based stuff, especially the more primal things like our reaction to spiders, heights, and whatnot, is very much based in that lizard brain kind of nervous system, and it's hard to really kind of override those like thousands of years of evolution and things like that. It's been there for a long time.
Yeah. I also think like a lot of it comes from like a lot of my fears that I had in childhood are like still fears and as an adult.
Yeah,
Like I still leap into bed at night because the monster's gonna get me.
yeah,
And it really is there.
it is. Yeah, 100%. It's right. It's
So
under the bed.
it is under the bed. So like
It's where they live.
especially when like I get up in the middle of the night and like everyone else is asleep, that's when the monster is like bigger, its teeth have grown, like
Yep.
it's drooling on the left side, and I've got to like, you know,
You've got to do something about it.
jump in the bed without waking Mike up. It's
Yeah,
very,
because the bed is essentially a force field
mhm.
that will protect you from any monsters that
It's
could
like
be around.
It's like Mission Impossible moves, I swear.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
I love it. I wonder, did just as you were talking about that there, and I was thinking about like Monsters Inc. and Monsters University and things like that, the
Hmm.
Pixar movies. And
Hmm.
I mean, obviously that was a conscious effort to like tackle the whole sort of monsters under the bed thing. But like all those monsters were fairly lovable. I mean, most were at least anyway. And I wonder, did it help or did it actually make things worse? I don't know.
Who do you remember the movie? Oh, is it Little Monsters?
That name sounds familiar.
With the kid that played Kevin in the Wonder Years. What's his name?
Oh yes,
And
Kevin.
yeah, and like he actually had a monster under the bed, and he got to go
Yes,
and he got to go into the world under the bed.
yes,
And
yes,
like I
yes.
remember that was like I could deal with that. Like if I met the monster and like, it was super hip and cool, then I could be less afraid.
I'm just looking at the cover of this.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it like
It's so
it's so
funny.
80s. It's
It's
so
so
80s.
80s and the monster design is amazing. So it's Howie Mandel was the monster as
Yeah,
well. It's
yeah,
so funny.
yeah, yeah.
And Fred Savage was the name
Fred
of the
Savage,
kid.
thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, so I want to know if you have like phobias or fears that are like super strange
I don't think so. Like um
or like okay.
I really struggle with heights. I know that as the because I was really kind of breaking this down and
Mm,
I really do. I really find heights really make me like nauseous and kind of dizzy, which is a terrible thing to have on a height, like it's just not good. But I think most of my core stuff, and I don't dislike spiders, but spiders kind of activate something in me that I am
hmm.
just like, I don't think I could ever like pick up a spider, for example. I'm always like, the idea of that is kind of nuts to me. I know some people can, but it's just, no thanks.
Like if there's a spider in your room, are you like, someone get this for
No.
me? Do you like get a piece of paper and a cup and like get it and take it
Yeah. Oh,
outside?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm okay to do that, but I don't ever want to put my hands on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't okay, my fear is like really strange.
Okay.
So I don't like I had to I actually found out it's an actual phobia. It's called tryphobia,
Okay.
and it's the fear of like holes.
Oh, uh-huh.
Like there are
like
certain plants that have like it's just
oh,
like we got a pack of crackers,
uh-huh,
like Ritz crackers. I don't know if you
yeah,
guys have those, but like the holes were extra big.
uh-huh.
And I was like, I can't, I was like so grossed out. I was like, I can't even eat this.
How
Or
interesting.
like I think I've mentioned before, like when strawberries like sprout,
Yeah,
that's like one of the most disgusting things. It's like something is coming. It's just like,
and then it's white for a while, and then it did. It's kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
weird.
I just can't. It's for me, it's like visual and I have this like intense revulsion feeling and I need to get away from it as fast as possible.
Fascinating.
I know it's weird.
I
And
still it's
like
cool.
yeah, well, but the kids bring home these things that are like, it's like a the best way I can explain it, it's like a fidget thing, they're always getting
Hmm.
like fidget toys or poppets or whatever, or fidget spinners, but this is like it's like a jelly ball that's surrounded in like a net and you
Hmm.
squish the ball and then like
Yeah,
it all like comes out of the little net holes.
I know what you
And
mean.
I'm like, you must get that away from me right now. Like I cannot look at that. And they're like, ha ha ha, but it like makes me want to throw up. It's the weirdest thing.
I That's so like and it's because like I know about a lot of those sort of like irrational fears or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're just there, and they're really kind of hard to explain. And it's because and I really was as we were like setting up for this, I was like really kind of racking my brain for things that, and I really don't have any, and I'm like, I am, you know, I absolutely have fears in my life, and like they're more about like socializing and things like that,
Yeah.
and being in situations where I have to talk to somebody will like actually get my heart pumping and my pulse racing, and I'll start to sweat and things. And I think that those sorts of situations are way more fearful to me than um other stuff. Like, and as I say, it's like, you were talking about that fear and you were saying it's weird. And I think I think loads of people have those fears to like, of not necessarily exactly the same as yours, but like to things that other people are gonna go, what are you talking about? But like, it doesn't make them any less real and, potent just because somebody else doesn't fully understand it.
Yeah. And I've had it my whole life. Like I remember even being a kid and like would have these images in my head and just be like, ew, ew, like get out of my brain, get out, like gross, gross, gross. So it's just like something that it's not the result of anything. It's just literally like how it was made with this
That's
phobia, just like you are with spiders and heights.
I I wonder, like, it's interesting because I've been having conversations recently about, I mean, obviously I've talked about my mental health in this podcast before, we both have,
Mhm.
and like I have, had thoughts about potentially being, autistic on the spectrum. I think I probably am to some extent,
Mhm.
but I wonder if there, and it really has made me think now if there's any sort of connection to that, in terms of how your brain works, if you are on the spectrum and fears, whether you're more or less likely to get these irrational fears. Something I'm going to look
That's a
into.
very interesting question. So, do you have like, I mean, with your fears, do you recognize them as being like rational or irrational?
Um, like I suppose with like I think a fear of heights is rational because like
Hmm.
heights will kill you
Hmm.
quick.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that's rational. But like, I get I part of me doesn't really like that those are the classifications, right? Because irrational sounds like something people can just get over, and I don't really fully agree with that.
Hmm.
Um, but like I think, it's as good a definition as any, and it's what people will understand, I suppose. Um, but I think um as I say, it is, it's things that will kill me, and it's mostly heights, honestly, as I say, is the thing that
Really?
really, yeah,
How did
that's
you climb when you were here visiting and I made you climb onto that like giant rock that was
I know that was sketchy.
like 100 feet up in the air and you
Keep
did
in
it?
keep in mind, I walked a little bit, and then I went on hands and knees for most of that because I was
You
like, ooh.
did,
I
but I didn't do it.
That's true. But like I keep in mind
Because
also that
I'm
I
smart.
yeah, you are
Sorry.
smart. This is no 100%. But also it's like you know me, I also like to I mean I talked, there about a lot of my fears with socializing and, having confidence and things like that. And the way I deal with that and the way I think I've always dealt with that is by throwing myself into the deep end,
Yeah.
hence doing improv classes, which were
Yeah.
terrifying to me. The idea of
Yes.
getting up on stage
Yes.
and doing that and having nothing prepared was horrifying, but like
Yeah.
it was been really good for me in a lot of ways. And I think there's something similar to like, I mean, I have done a bungee jump, right? And it was
You never told
awful.
me that.
Yeah, I was
Did you
awful.
like I read this story once about this lady that like peed her pants as she was
Oh,
going up
really?
and so like everyone below her got covered in her pee
Oh,
and she was like
no.
bouncing up and down in her own pee and I was like that's enough for me to be like that's a terrible idea.
So, like, okay, what I mean, I basically here, I'll tell you the setup for it. It happened whenever I was in Korea. So, it was whenever I was in South Korea doing my year out there, or do my teaching year in Korea, sorry, rather. And we did a day of whitewater rafting, which was really good fun.
Mhm.
And there was an optional bungee jump at the end. And we were like with a group of, I would say, 8 of us. Like, it was a friend group, basically the island we all lived on. There was a handful of English teach or English speaking teachers all there, and we would all like get together and hang out. So we did a few of these trips all together as a group, and this was probably one of the largest groups. And like, I was one of the oldest ones there at that point, and I would have been in my late 20s, but everybody else was like the same age or younger. So you're like a group of 20 something men. Nobody's going to be like, I'm not going to do a bungee jump. Fuck that. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, if you're doing it, I'll do it. So the big problem for me is I think if I have time to prep mentally, I am okay. I can at least get myself into a frame of mind and be fine. But basically what happened was I was in the queue for this thing. I was getting closer and closer. And there's a guy in front of me, and like we had been given these tickets basically to say, one turn, you have to give it to the guy. Here's your one turn to the bungee jump. And like he had just been like, and I just saw him rubbing his hands in front of me. And then he got up to the front of the queue. I was just like, I can't do it. And he opened his hand, and like the ticket had disintegrated in sweat, and just it was just ruined. He's just like, I can't do this. I walked away. And because I saw him going up, and I was like, right, one away, start breathing, start getting in the mindset for this, and it'll be fine. And then the guy goes, okay, he's not going, you're up. And I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh,
I'm not
fuck.
prepared.
No, not even slightly, not slightly, even close to being mentally prepared. And I was like, okay, I've already mentally said I'm going to do it. Let's just fucking do it. So he like clipped me in. And I had friends. So basically, I think I was one of the last ones out of our group to go. And the friends were down below, and some of them had already got beers and were like watching us. And there was like, it was over a bridge, and there was a guy in a rowboat who was like collecting us. And I just was like, all I can do for this is just close my eyes and walk forwards and then just fall off. And that's not, and basically they said they saw the nature of my drop because I just went down, like I was going feet first, was like it didn't look good. And like I just like jolted and jar and you like it didn't come down the way you're kind of supposed to. And like it didn't really hurt my back, but it wasn't a fun back experience at all. And as you're going down, every part of your body is like screaming, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing? It's and and then and it just wasn't great. And I felt a wee bit disoriented and dizzy, and I didn't really thoroughly enjoy the process either. Um, yeah, and I would never do it again. But I think that talking to all those people, not one of them really, all my friends, none of them really enjoyed it. It's not,
It's I I think it's, and nothing against people that are like adrenaline
yeah,
junkies, you know, the skydiving, the bungee jumping, the mountain climbing, the Mount Everesting,
yeah.
right? Like I don't understand. And like if there are any listeners that can explain to me why like there is this need to feel that fear and feel that adrenaline and you
Have
know to me that doesn't feel good. and it
Have
doesn't make me feel more alive.
Yes, I totally hear you. Have you ever seen the movie Free Solo?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay, so it's basically about this guy who's a free climber,
Yeah.
and in the movie, he is attempting to free climb El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. At that point, it hadn't, I don't believe it had been done successfully ever. Um, so they basically, the movie is both spending time getting to know this guy, and he has free soloed a lot of other things, and then the actual attempt itself. It's so fascinating and like terrifying, especially as somebody who struggles with heights. Like the whole thing is horrifying to watch. But like in the lead up to it, they scan his brain just to see what
Yeah.
allows him to do this, whereas other people will be like, no fucking chance. And they found the part, I can't remember the name of it. Is it the amygdala that like I can't remember that like pumps out fear chemicals was a lot smaller in his brain compared to the average
Interesting.
person.
So they gotta go farther and do more in order to get
That hit, that
that
adrenaline.
jolt.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But like it's a really cool film, man. Like even though you kind of know what the outcome's gonna be, the whole climb is horrifying. And like there are, they cut their like friends videographers video in this stuff, and he's the videographer's like, I understand the need to video this, but I could be watching my friend die at any second here,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so that was a massive tangent.
No, but it's all, fear is fear. So like,
Yep.
I guess like what are your fears?
Um, as I say, I think people,
Yeah.
we're one with a bullet. I don't really understand them fully, and it's stressful and scary to me. I mean, does anyone? But I think people, I don't think people think about it quite as much as I do a lot of the time. Um, but it's like that, and it is those more primal things for me.
Hmm.
It's being, having to socialize with people and kind of like that fear, I guess, also of rejection as well
Hmm.
is so front loaded in my brain compared to, any of the what I would say would be more like classic or typical fears. And as I say, then other than that, heights is a number one with a bullet when I think about it. It is the thing that really I don't think I will ever fully get over. It really does bother me a great deal.
I think for me, like losing the people that I love the most.
Yes.
And like, I will say that has happened to me. Like losing my dad was my biggest fear. And like, I remember being a kid and just being like, knowing that someday that was going to happen, but thinking it was going to be much, much further off than it
Yep.
was. Um, and like having to live through the grief of that. Like Andy knows, like I'm still dealing with it and it's still hard, but it's like, uh, I know I can get through that
Yep.
now. Even though it takes like even though it will never be over,
Yes.
the grief and the sadness, but but now I'm like, oh God, what if I like what if something happened to Mike or the kids? Like that's
Yes.
probably my biggest, other than crackers with giant holes. Like I'm afraid I'm gonna lose them and I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to like, you know, deal with that and feel that and move through
Yeah.
that and try and like, continue on with life, which like I I can't imagine
Yes.
literally. So,
It it is always like, and it just feels so unimaginable. And like you do
mhm,
sometimes see those stories where it's like, there'll be some sort
mhm.
of terrible car accident or whatever, and it is unimaginable because like especially if it's
Yeah,
like out of the blue,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like yeah, it's nuts. And that's yeah, I am absolutely right there with you on that one. Yeah. Um like I mean honestly like even on it is a smaller scale, but it's obviously very important to me. And I think Beth would agree with me in this because like my dog is going
Yeah.
in. Sasha is going in
Yeah.
to get operated on this week. She's going to be put under, and like it's a fairly low risk thing that's happening, but it's very scary to me because
Yeah.
like I don't want to lose her. So yeah, it's loved ones for sure.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what's your biggest fear for like the world?
Oh God, I think
I
it's
know.
happening.
Happening.
It's
Hmm.
currently occurring. Um, you know, I really think that humanity is locked into a really destructive cycle, and we just keep repeating year after year. And I really fear that it will absolutely drive us to our own destruction before we kind of break out of it. If you know, because I think it is. I think it's going to hit a fever point at some time. I think in a lot of ways we are extremely lucky that it hasn't really kind of blown up in our faces in an extreme way. I think about how close, you know, the country has been to nuclear war and things like that at a variety of different times and things like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
I think about like our president, Jimmy Carter, who just passed away,
yeah,
and like he was 100,
yeah,
right? So, the wars that he lived through, what he saw, and the rapid pace at which things are changing,
hmm
you know, um, selfishly, like I know there's going to be catastrophe. I know there's going to be a World War III at some point, right? Like this, it's our nature as human
yeah,
beings to just kind of keep having to relearn lessons.
yeah,
But I selfishly, I'm like, maybe it'll happen after I die.
yeah. I hear you. I'm kind of hoping that as well. Like,
And
I
then I'm
mean,
like, that falls to the kids, but I'm like, but I'll be dead. So
yeah, that's true. Um, I'm kind of hopeful that like AIs take over. I like because I don't think as I think, but I don't know whether we talked about this on the podcast or not. But yeah, I had a conversation with a friend, and he made the excellent point that like people have thought, oh, AI might take over and then they'll wipe us all out, and he's like, well, that conceptually is a very kind of human thing that need to kind of like crush. Like they would have a different. They won't have our sense of morality. They won't have our sense of, you know what I mean? They're completely
mhm,
different kind of intelligences, and
mhm.
so like, they may go, whoa, 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 whoa. Just, fucking chill, all this shit. Let's get rid of all the divisive nonsense, that's, a dream really rather than a fear, I guess, but yeah. So, who knows? Who knows how that's all going to pan out?
Yeah, did you see what was it? Deep Sea? What was
Hmm
it? The Chinese AI that like sprung up and then someone put a virus in and shut it down.
Yeah. It's,
So,
I saw like, it's so interesting seeing, other um, AI companies complaining about, well, just copying all our ideas. And it's like, all of AI copies everybody else's ideas.
that's what it is.
Let's
It
not
absorbs
lie to
information and
yourselves.
then
Yes. And
no,
then like
yeah.
spits it out. What's was really interesting, I saw people whenever the deep sea came out and they were using it a little bit and they were going, they were trying to get it to say things. And they tried to get it to say Taiwan as a country, and it said Taiwan is part of China and things like that. It's just like, what a nightmare.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I think like I did actually break things up into like my irrational fears and then like rational
Yeah.
fears, which I agree I don't really like categorizing those, but I was trying to be like, all right, like what is real and what is in my own like what is in my own
I,
weird head.
I still think it's a useful framework. Do you know what I mean? To like talk about them. Yeah.
So like rational, like the house burning down, that is a rational
Yep.
fear. I think like I have anxiety attacks and I'm always like worried that I'm gonna have another one of
Yep.
those. They feel terrible. Um, and I think like mine is, I guess, socially related. I
hmm
want to make sure that, you know, not amends, but like if I need to like clear up stuff with people, I just want to make sure that I do that.
Yeah, that's a good
And
one.
not doing that, yeah, I do feel like that feeling of like, like not the balance isn't there, something's off.
Yes. I That's an interesting one. And I think it's like I think that's something I feel as well. And I have got better at addressing that. I think I've got better at owning up to things. I'm also, I think,
I will agree with that with
yeah,
you. I think
because
you're
like
much better at it than I am.
I am also not afraid to look dumb or one of the things I fucking hate more than anything is people who are like, I haven't heard from that person in ages. And it's like, have you reached out to them? No. Well then the fuck? Just because I think people are just, you know, worried about losing face or whatever. And it's like, who gives a fuck about any of that? Just reach out to the person. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It really bought that kind of and like the amount of like I feel lost friendships and things like that that happen as a result of that way of thinking, you know?
I agree with that. And it's like you would think that with all of the technology, because I went through some of my like high school and college boxes where I would save like notes and letters and like this was right when like email was becoming a thing. So
Yes.
we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have, we barely had the internet. I don't think we had the internet. Um, and like for all of the technology and access we have to get in touch with people, like the amount of notes and letters and like, pen pals and correspondence that was happening, for me at least,
Yeah.
was a lot.
Yeah. That's
And
great.
it's like we'll never we won't go back to that and that's okay, but it's not that hard to send someone a text and just be like, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you?"
Yes.
And that's all it takes. It's not that hard. And I'm guilty obviously of like not doing that, and I can think of like three people that I need to be like, "Hey, how are you?" and I'm
Yeah.
going to do that today.
Yeah.
Um
I truly think one of the biggest modern fears that so many people are inflicted with is a fear of vulnerability, of
yes.
looking vulnerable,
Yes.
because people seem to have vulnerability and weakness seem to have become inextricably linked. I don't think there's any real truth to it whatsoever, honestly, but it's so sad, and I think the things that we lose because of that,
Yeah.
it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. I I'm wondering like how often you feel afraid?
Mm. When I think about it, when I was thinking about it, I think it is so tied into my mental state, you know?
Mhm.
And like, if I am in a negative mindset or depressive mindset, I think I am a lot more fearful about the world, about my relationships, about my place in the world, all of those things, you know. So I feel like I'm not so I feel like I go through periods of fearfulness, and I think they are connected with those depressive states. I think when I'm in a more hopeful place, which I think I am in I think currently I am, and I have been for a while. It's not completely plain sailing, but it has definitely been, there have been a lot more up days than down days recently. Um, I don't, that part of my brain becomes less accessible to me, and I'm really happy about that. So I think there are just, periods of time in my life rather than, specific incidents or specific times and things like that. I don't know that they're connected to real life stuff. Sometimes I think they are, but yeah. So it's just very much connected with my depression and mental state, I think.
I think mine's obviously like for me it's always like health related. If I'm in a not healthy place or I'm in a flare, then like
Yeah.
all of the things come up, the depression, the anxiety, you know, um And you know, I really hermit, I really turtle. And I don't know if that's fear-based or if I'm just like trying to like put my energy where I can put it, which is like only sometimes only giving my energy to myself.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something I'm still working through because I'm only like 4 or so years into this fun health journey.
Yeah. It's true. It's, but it's interesting that you're like, taking a step back and looking at that,
Yeah,
analytically,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. And like, I was thinking about um sometimes I have fear related to like even just like, do I have the energy to get up and do this thing?
Yeah.
And I was so Mel Robbins is this like ex-attorney that's now doing TED Talks, and she talks a lot about like neurological uh patterns and how to break those patterns.
Mm.
And I was listening to her being interviewed the other day, and I only got part of the way through, but one of the things that she said that helps her to like break through and like get up and like get something done that might, be something that, you're fearful of, but you do it anyway, as opposed to just like laying in bed,
Yeah. Yeah.
is
Yeah.
she does a 5-second countdown, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then like your rocket has to take off. And
I
like
like
that
that.
will get her out of bed. That will get her to take that like little tiny minute step in the direction of like choosing to live her life a different way.
And I think that's smart because I think that like not doing that and like is whenever the fear festers and kind of gets worse, you
Exactly.
know?
Yeah. When you
Yeah.
just sit with it. I agree. And like I'm so guilty of just letting it fester and letting it take over. And I
Yeah.
haven't used her technique yet, but I like the concept and it's easy that I can remember.
Yeah. It's a good one.
The numbers 1 to 5, right?
Yeah.
And picture a rocket and like, yeah, that I can do. And then like, and she's like, and you don't need to take these grand steps, just tiny ones, you know?
Um, yes, exactly. I could tell you something gross. So sometimes whenever I like the image of a rocket taking off, so like, and because I'm a fucking nerd, so like
Yeah.
sometimes, you need to pee and you're not peeing properly. So the idea of like a rocket taking off and the sort of jet, the cone of flame helps me pee.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's what you picture?
Yes.
These are the things I need to know.
Anyway, so that just triggered that button. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? Nice place to share that, right? People are gonna
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that
yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah. Nope,
Um,
nope. That's out in the
uh,
world forever.
it is like the world forever, and I don't care. So. Here's something I thought about whenever I was looking into this was, do you think there is some sort of cathartic release from putting yourself into a state of fear, for example, going to watch a horror movie that might help release some of that? Do you think it has any knock-on effect to actual fears?
That is a very interesting question. I do I think there's like good adrenaline and bad adrenaline,
Hmm.
at least for me. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just like what my body's telling me. And like for me, good adrenaline is like going and watching a horror movie. And
Yeah.
I do feel like, woo, that like, and then like the release. Um, so yeah, absolutely. I also, like good adrenaline, like travel is always like something I'd love to do, but I'm always a little afraid. Like, what if
Yeah.
my body crashes, or what if, and I think that that's like good adrenaline, good
Yeah.
fear. Taking off in an airplane is always like, especially these days, is always
Yeah.
like you know, that's a fear that a lot of people have. But for me, it's like good fear. I love that feeling of taking off and landing and like
Yeah.
feeling that jolt of adrenaline. So I do think that it is beneficial. I think I wonder like our primeval selves, like how often fear was felt
Yeah.
and how often like, because it's like you're off gassing, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And
Yeah, and
I also wonder like what based on my news hounding, like what's an acceptable level of that?
yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, finding that balance is hard. Because like you know, it's as somebody who was I know we did an episode about horror movies and somebody who wasn't like super into horror. I mean, I think I have gotten into it more as time has went on, but I have not felt the need for that release, and I wonder is it why? Because like horror movies are so big and they're such a popular genre, and they always kind of have been. And I wonder is that a way for people just to burn off that sort of fear or that adrenaline? Don't know.
Or to feel it.
Or to
Yeah.
feel it, yeah, to just
Yeah.
feel in touch with their own mortality and et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, you could die by chainsaw too,
Oh
so
God, what a dream.
I know, right?
Um, No, I know how I want to die. So when I was watching the Royal Rumble, there were like these really like strong women, like massive muscles. I want one of them to crush me between their thighs or arms. I don't really care. So I want to go just explode my head like a grape.
Yeah. My grandma went to the Outback Steakhouse and had
Uh-huh.
like a great steak dinner and then went home and went to sleep and died. And I was like, that's the way I want to go.
Let's do it right. That is
Great
doing.
meal, fall
Hmm.
asleep, and you're good.
Oh,
Outback
that is.
Steakhouse.
Outback is a new advertising campaign for them. Outback
Mhm.
Steakhouse, the last meal before you die. Um, yeah.
Um, so are there like tools that you use to help overcome the fear that you feel?
It's
Like
sorry, sorry.
like your rocket
Yeah, I'm gonna
pee?
go rocket ship. I actually, I mean, it's both a rock. I did actually have something more like cogent to say whenever you're talking about that, but I had to like share the rocket ship anecdote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I
Uh,
really wanted to hear.
yeah, I know that it was. Um, but I also quite like okay. I here's what I have. I don't want to do this thing. I have 5 minutes. I'm gonna give myself 5 minutes and I'm just gonna switch off for 5 minutes and then I'm doing it. And like that's just how it's gonna be. And I don't let myself off with pushing that. So I think that has always been a good technique to me. If I'm like feeling overwhelmed, it's just like, okay, we've got a time to reset, but that's the time that you have to reset and then just go for it. And like once I am moving, it's normally completely fine.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just need that wee reset window, I think sometimes. And I mean, it's even with like, being out in the world and meeting people and stuff like that. I really struggle. A friend asked me recently if I like surprises, and I was like, no, I fucking hate them because I just don't. If I need my brain needs a wee bit of time to gear up correctly in terms of like, am I socializing now? Am I on, shopping mode or am I, whatever? Am I dog walking? I need to be in the right frame of mind for that. So like people have bumped into me sometimes and I'm just like my brain just like is like shutting
Runs
down and like
away.
panicking. Yes, it is. Like I kind of just physically want to run away. So yeah, so like I think with the time to give myself a wee bit of a break and a gap between those things, the things that I don't want to do, it really kind of makes me get into the right place for it.
Do you think that you face your fears more or do you embrace your fears more?
I think I face my fears more. I think I like to throw myself into situations that scare me, and I think it's been helpful. Like I think that's one of the reasons why, when I think about when I thought about this topic, there isn't a lot of things I'm super kind of fearful of. I think just because I have a lot of my fears that I have, the things that have really kind of, were really fearful to me, I've just thrown myself at them and I've kind of not conquered them necessarily, but I've kind of exposed what they are. And I'm like, why was I ever kind of fearful? It's just another thing.
Hmm.
What about you?
I I think like health stuff aside and
Mhm.
like my old self, like I would much I think I was I think think I faced my fears,
Yeah.
but I also like I live a little bit more passively now.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes I just either out of just like sheer exhaustion or like not laziness, but like I'll just kind of sit with them
Yeah.
and like, roll them around, look at them.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I'm like, well, do I need to deal with this or can I put this aside and ignore it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I would say it's probably a little bit of both, but I probably work harder now at just like embracing because I am such a control freak where
Yeah.
like, and so uh I think I find that facing it like feeds that control freak in me and embracing like I'm exercising brain muscles that I don't typically exercise
Yeah.
because I think I can like bend metal with my mind, right? But I know I can't really.
Hey,
So I
keep
know.
practicing is what
Keep
I say.
practicing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what
If
I think.
yeah, uh if Jean Grey can do it, Beth, you can do it too, right?
It's true. It's true. It's true.
There, I got there. I was going to say Professor Xavier, but I knew people would have come at me and be like, "No, he's a telepath. He's not telekinetic." So,
Mm-mm. I would have told you that.
oh, yeah, thank you. Anyway, okay. You're welcome, everybody at home. No, I think that I really like that. Yeah, though you're talking about that stuff there, and it's it's just about it's about finding the way that works for you, and it's you know, I think about this. You asked me if I face my fears, and I'm saying, oh, I face my fears. And it makes me sound like I'm strong, and but I'm not. Like I'm a big like soft wet pudding a lot of the times, and hypersensitive. But like, it's one of the reasons why I feel it's important for me to do it. Do you know what I mean? Even more important for me to do it. Like I find it incredibly hard, but it
Mhm.
has been not every time, but sometimes completely liberating as a result, and has really kind of, I think, pushed change in me for the better.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And like, even us deciding to go to a yoga teacher training in Costa Rica for 2 weeks, not knowing anybody, right?
Yeah,
Like that was terrifying.
yeah,
And look at us
absolutely.
now,
I
Andy
know. Look at us
Young.
go.
Duh.
Big time celebs
I know, right?
rolling in podcast cash.
Your 100 listeners.
Yeah,
Haha.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think as annoying as I'm gonna sound, like being mindful
Yeah,
is, where it's at. And
I
just
hear you.
like look at it, notice it, recognize it, and then decide if you want to do anything with it or not at all.
Yeah, love it. It's a
Yeah.
good way to leave things, I think. Um, do you have anything else before we move on to our end section?
I don't think
I think
so.
that was
Oh
good.
yeah, I do.
Okay.
Do you fear death?
And depends on the day.
Yeah,
Some days I'm like, oh, come on, hurry up.
I
Other
know.
days, other days I'm like, you know what? Overall, no, because I like, it's just another thing. And like, and honestly, I think that nobody has any idea what happens after death. And like, I think the people that go, oh, there's nothing there, or it's that certainty that I don't really like particularly. So like,
Mhm.
who the fuck knows? And honestly, like, I think about my life and, what the riches I have, which are the people that I know and the people that are in my life. And if I were to die now, that would be, a wonderful sort of, thing to have left in my life. Do you know what I mean? Just to have had those relationships,
Mhm.
So no, not
Yeah,
really.
yeah. I think, well, I don't fear it. I just know I don't want to die yet.
Yes.
Having been faced with that and having to make a decision about that.
Yep.
Uh, and like, I'm also too curious to be afraid of it.
Yes.
Like, I want to know, and maybe there's nothing there, and maybe there is, but like, that's the question. this is like an aside thing, but I was driving Harper from the doctor on Friday on these like windy roads, and it's like where all the motorcyclists go because like windy roads are fun to ride your motorcycle on. I don't know, but they're
Okay.
everywhere. And I swear to fucking God, there was like a motorcyclist that had pulled off and was like adjusting their gloves. And I was like, that's my dad.
Wow.
I swear it was him. It was his face.
Fascinating.
I know. And I was
Wow.
like,
Yeah.
and I was like, you know, okay, that's weird. That happened.
It's
So
an
we know nothing, I'll say.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we know nothing.
we know nothing. Yeah, we absolutely know the sum total of fuck all,
Yeah,
and that's okay. You know,
yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Okay. Um. Great. Awesome. So, shall we move on to our final wee section of the episode, which is
Yes.
what's been bringing you joy?
So for me, um, Settlers of Catan.
Really?
Yeah,
The board game, or are you playing it digitally?
the board game.
Okay.
So like we got like the starter kit for D&D and Mike was reading through it and he was like, they're not ready. They're not
Yes,
ready. The kids
that's
aren't
fair, I
ready.
think.
So he was like getting the car work done and he was like, need anything from Walmart? And I'm like, never.
Sure.
Um, so he came home and he's like, I got Catan. And I was like, oh, okay. And like the Charlie especially, who's like super into Minecraft and like got the concept
That's
immediately and
interesting.
was like he was so excited he was like shaking.
I
Uh so
love
it
it.
was so fun. It was so fun. So
Good.
like really just like board games
I hear
are
you. I
bringing
mean,
me
I'm
joy.
right there with you. I'm not the biggest fan of Settlers, but like it's just because of my I've had a relationship with the youth board games for many years now, and I feel like I think that game is fun. I think the first half, maybe the first three quarters of that game is fun, but I really hate the end game so
Hmm.
much. And I feel like I feel like it is maybe, and I don't mind a kind of luck-based game, but like if your dice are bad, you just basically won't have a game.
It's true.
And that frustrates me a little bit. There's a lot of games I don't mind that with, but with that one, I find it quite frustrating. Um, but it's still like it's a classic for a reason, and I think it is still like head and shoulders above like Monopoly or so many of the other sort of major games. I think it
Yes.
deserves the reputation it has, and I think it
Yes.
is actually a lot better once you start adding the expansions and stuff to it. In my opinion.
I
Um.
haven't even told Charlie their
Oh
expansions.
yeah.
He's gonna die. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait until play a
Yeah.
handful of games first before you
Yeah.
even consider those things. Um. So. For me, my friend gave me access to Crunchyroll. So Crunchyroll is so it's like a Netflix, it's like an Apple TV for anime.
Oh, cool.
And I've been getting back in the anime train. I'm so happy I'm so happy to watch anime again. Like I love anime. Like I have dipped my toes into it over the years. But there's something so surreal about like the humor and stuff that comes from Japanese anime and like the directions it can go in that it just makes me so happy because it just always not like it always comes out of left field for me. It's never like sometimes I've watched so many Western shows and you kind of see things being built up and they still make you laugh, but you can see the building blocks to them, but it will just like sideswipe you with like this incredible piece of like surreality that's just makes you laugh so hard and I love it for that so much. There's a few shows I've been meaning to get to. I'm gonna get back into One Punch Man, but I've been watching the show called Jujutsu Kaisen, which I
Hmm.
am adoring, and it's been really good fun. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm right back in that anime train.
Is it, do you pronounce it anime or anime? I hear both.
I think I say
You
anime, but I
can
think both are valid,
you you can get away with whatever because your accent,
That's just true because nobody understands what I'm saying at the best of times.
right?
Yeah, that's so true. Um, love it. Okay. Good one. Okay, in that case, I think we've come to the end of our episode. Beth, can you tell everybody where they can find us?
You can find us at bendypodcast.com.
Okay, sorry.
And you can in what we're doing 68 this week. And then the next one will be episode 69. So
Yeah,
be sure to check the
69,
website for that.
dude. High five for virtual high five. Okay, perfect. Right, I love it. Okay, so in that case, folks, as always, we'd like to remind you to stay friendly. Very fitting. Very fearful one.
Right?
All right.
Boo. Bye. Love,
Woo, love
guys.
you. Bye bye bye.
Boo.